And I tend to be almost more creative on the spot on things when I'm under pressure. I've always been that person. I write a better essay the night before to do. I do the better thing when it's like the last minute. I'm sorry, I'm a procrastinator by nature, and it has worked really well for me. Being a procrastinator.
Right.
I know, sorry.
And it works really well for me having anxiety because I'm always preparing for every worst outcome.
Hi, Julie.
Hello.
So good to see you. You're looking very perky today.
Surprising considering I barely slept.
Oh, really? You look very fresh and like awake. So that's
maybe
good.
because I've been up since 5 a.m. So it's like 4 o'clock right now for me.
Yeah. You know what I find too? When I don't sleep as much, I tend to be almost like with adrenaline energy, and it's like this different kind of energy that I go, and it actually feeds into our topic for today, but that's what happens when I'm like lit, I'll call it, like more like lit up. Okay, I roll. Anyway,
the young terms.
Take the compliment. You look good today.
Thanks.
I got a new little shirt.
I know. Fancy.
I don't know. Hey, is it fancy? I was like debating if it was too. I always worry now that I'm called a grandfluencer that it's like, am I wearing a granny shirt now? I don't want to feed into that.
No, you're not.
Okay. Separate topic. What's the topic for today, Jewel? What would you like to take us through? Because I'm going to put it in your hands today.
Production.
Okay.
And your production life and what production is like and being on a set and all those fun things that happen. And I think the topic came up because obviously dealing with the car accident, we had to get a new car. It was a week of stress and like being on edge, and you know, getting a car is not like buying something online. It is a process. Mm-hmm. And once we had finally gotten the car and we got home, we both sat down, and it was like I was hit with a wave of exhaustion that I can only compare to what it feels like after you've been working on a set for like a week.
Yes.
So that's kind of how the topic came to be, because I was like, wow, I'm feeling like post-production exhaustion right now because it literally was a production of a week.
I kind of like how that has become a communication benchmark for us when we talk about the types of exhaustion we're feeling. And not a lot of people can relate to it because you've been on shoots with me. I don't know that Tommy would remember, but him being on a shoot when he was a PA was a different kind of thing. We should talk about that at some point. I will be laughing about it when I think of some of the Tommy moments back in the day when he was a PA. It was different. It involved like driving to pick up things, and he was like always lost trying to do
before
pickups.
Google Maps.
Before Google Maps. It's so true. Anyway, that's a separate topic. But the reason I like this topic is I do think that a lot of what I've learned in production has fed into where my life is now, and my work ethic is affected by what production has been. And when you said I'm exhausted like after a shoot, I was like, we got to talk about this because I don't think a lot of people can relate to that as an idea. But before we do, I don't think anybody knows about the car accident because we didn't talk about that, I don't think, on the last time we recorded. So
yes,
just a little. We did? Are you positive?
But we did talk about it. I got in a car accident.
Okay, so it was a car accident. It wasn't your fault. Everybody was fine. And just the car was unfortunately damaged beyond repair. All right, so I just want to make sure that we don't start talking about something and people are like, wait, what did I miss? So just glad that you know that we did touch on it. And I'm glad it's all behind you now. And all these things that happen, they add up to experiences that you have that get easier. Because, you know, I've had a few car accidents in my day. and I know from experience in my day, and not always far away from now day. But yeah, so I understand that level of the stress and the anxiety, and especially luckily for you, not your fault. But I recently did have an accident that wasn't my fault. That's why I was so clear on, listen, no matter what, if you even stop, because somebody told me that when I was driving and there was a car in the left lane that literally stopped and caused an accident and caused like a pileup in front of me. And I was just like a domino effect at the very end of it. And they said that the person who hits the person, even if someone stops in the left lane, it's not that person's fault, which is crazy to me. Because the person who stops in the left lane obviously is at fault in my book because you caused a whole pileup of cars. But nope. Insurance, whoever hits the person is the one who should have seen that the car was stopped in the left lane, which is crazy. Anyway, just a point to note, a little learning, a little insurance lesson for the episode.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate if someone pulls out in front of you, it's not your fault.
And I think part of the reason it was so exhausting this whole week of not having a car, it's like we don't live in New York City. It's not super walkable. We live in a walkable area, thank God.
Yeah.
But it's more exhausting. Also, the fact that it's like 90 degrees. So yes, we live in a walkable area, but then going grocery shopping, 90-degree weather, it's like, it's the worst. And you're
sweating,
drenched, and that's your workout for the day.
Oh my God. No, that's rough. I understand that. All right. Well, at least that's behind us, but let's talk about why production exhaustion is defined as such on its own definition beyond regular exhaustion.
Well, let's start at the beginning. What does a production day look like for you? I mean, it's also different for you versus a production day for you as the head producer, or even head director, is different than the production day as a PA. And a PA is the production assistant. You're like, it's the bitch role of the shoot. Like, you're just doing any role for anybody at any time.
Yes, it's the pickups, it's the tasks, it's the get the coffee, fill the coffees, do the coffee runs, which might involve driving. There's a lot on the PA level, but I will say, I think since you're on the PA level and I've been on the producing and directing level since we've worked together, and we both do experience the same level of exhaustion. So I'm going to talk about what a production day looks like it overall as a producer and then a director, and then why that type of level of drain happens. And I do think a lot of it is adrenaline based for the producing and directing part of it, because everything leads up to this. There's a lot that goes into the preparation and the meetings, and you have to remember all the things that everybody wants. As a producer, you're more of the organizer, and you're making sure that everything is where it needs to be at the time that it's needed. But as a director, you're responsible for the vision. So both of those things in my book weigh on me as heavily. And it's like, one is just creative stress. And when I'm interviewing, it's like, did they say the thing? Did they say it with a good lead in? So it's like a higher level of listening. So I'm so hyper aware that when I'm listening, I'm editing at the same time. Because I'm like, did I get the opening? Did they say the beginning? So it can be edited without my voice? Is it contextual? So I think a lot of it is physical for certain people on set, and mental for other people on set, and all of that is the same level.
I'm going to say I feel like you're giving a good high level of what a production day is, but in a very this is what it is. Your call time is usually, if you're starting a normal shoot day, your call time is normally somewhere between 6 and 8 a.m. depending on your role. If you're a PA, it's most likely 6 a.m. If you're higher up, producer, talent, director, 8 a.m. And you are working from 6 a.m. until lunch, which is usually 1. And during those times, you are getting sets ready, talent's getting prepped, producers are getting things in place, you're shooting, you're filming, you're doing all those things. And then you get a 1 hour break from 12 to 1 or 1 to 2, and then you're on again from post lunch. And this really depends on the director or producer. A shoot can end at 6 o'clock, it can end at 1 in the morning, and there's no in between.
What I like is that you have had the difference of working on shoots where I wasn't on them, not many, because you've decided you didn't want to do that anymore because you could see how disorganized they are. But the person leading the charge does have a huge impact on how long that day is and how efficient that day is. If they're organized, if they have clear vision of what they want and they can move things along, it doesn't have to be that long. I have very few shoots that have ever gone past the time that we were supposed to wrap up, because I know what I need to get in a certain time. And when we're falling behind, Brandy, she's right behind me saying, ta-ta-ta, looking at the watch. And I'm like, okay, we'll make it up on the next shot. And I'm moving it along because I have a producer mindset from the days of keeping things on track. So as a director, I'm really good for a producer because I make sure things roll on. But I want to say the whole call time thing feeds into, if you're not a morning person, like me, it is killer to day after day have to get up at this ridiculous hour that I don't normally get up at. Be functional at that. It's a ridiculous hour. I would wish I could do shoots where it was like call time's noon and we work till midnight. I'm in for that, But it's hard because I have to be more awake. I have to be more hyper aware at an earlier time. So that already is energy I'm spending more than I normally would in a morning time period. So that's a killer. I just want to add that in. because I don't like the early call times. Kills me. But you have to beat the traffic. There's a whole lot of reasons for it. I mean, I know. So you did a really good job of explaining how grueling and on your feet the day is. And it's not just the physicality. It's also you have to be paying attention. Even as a PA, are somebody asking for something? Should I be aware of that? So your mind has to be constantly alert on every person's role.
Especially being a PA, it's like you should not be doing nothing is kind of the mentality. And that's kind of like the same mentality in like restaurants where it's like, okay, if it's slow, you should always be doing something. And it's sometimes hard because I feel like I've been on shoots before where I'm asking so many people, I'm like, you need me to do anything? And everyone's saying no. And I'm just like, well, I don't just want to sit because then it looks like I'm not doing my job if I'm just sitting. But I've already asked every important person if they need me to do something. And everyone's like, no, you can just hang out. And I'm like, well, I can't though.
I can't. What's really funny is years and years ago, Grandpa came to my shoot. I don't even know if I ever told you this, but I was shooting in Montclair at a park, and Grandpa came to watch the shoot. I don't know why, just him, not Grandma. And he was sitting in a chair, and I introduced him around, and we were shooting Cupid dolls. I'll never forget it, in a park in Montclair. Cupid dolls, remember those? And he was so observant of the shoot from an objective point of view, because he said, it's interesting, Helen, in his grandpa way. It's like, there's a whole lot of people, and it looks like everyone's standing around doing nothing. But as soon as something is said and it's someone's job, that person is moving, and they are on it. So he really got the observation. He observed it from third party that it's like, everybody's paying attention, even though they might be nowadays even scrolling on their phone or doing something else. Everybody is aware of what their role is in the moment. So you have a prop person, and if something isn't right, the prop person is jumping in. If something is hair and makeup, somebody's watching a monitor. Oh God, her hair's out of place. Someone's jumping in for that. So that's I don't know. I thought that was nice insight from Grampy Gramps. Having never been on a shoot before, it was pretty cool. But that does describe the mantra of like people sitting around looking like they're doing nothing, but they're not.
It is a lot of waiting. Like, I haven't been on a lot of shoots where there's a lot of waiting, but I'd imagine other shoots there'd be a lot of waiting of setting up shots. And like, I've only ever worked on your shoots, which are all commercials. I've never worked on sets of like television or movies where I'm sure it's even more of like a setup waiting around kind of game for talent to redo lines and versus 20-minute interviews about toothpaste.
But you've done a few where you did shoots that I wasn't directing, like in LA. Didn't you do a couple? Because remember there was a really long shoot day, and you even said to me, I will never. Like, this director didn't even have a clue to keep things moving or was changing. I forget what the details were.
It was a shoot in Chicago, and it was for a roofing commercial.
Okay.
And it was like unnecessarily long. Like, there was absolutely no need that this director needed like this many takes of things because it's a roofing commercial. And then, I mean, that was the only one I've really ever done, not Mothership. The other one that it was kind of Mothership. I did like location scouting for you here.
Oh, right.
And that one was not fun.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy. Well, there was a golf outing that day. Remember there was a golf outing happening and you had to go look at I thought there was a golf thing, unless that was later. But there was something happening in Beverly Hills, and you went to scout some dentist offices, and there was all this traffic. Oh,
yes. Like one of the big golf tournaments was happening, and there was so much traffic. And then one of the locations was like an hour and a half away, and you guys were like, we're definitely not going to use it, but still go. And I was like,
oh, jeez. You know what's funny about that golf tournament one? The only reason I even remember that is because Dad and Jonathan were watching this golf documentary series that's on right now on Netflix or something about these golfers. And they were talking about a championship in Beverly Hills. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Julie was scouting the locations for me during that. Because it was in the documentary. Anyway, it's just funny that it just came to mind. But you bring something up that's a really funny point for me now, because I have only ever been on my own shoots where I'm either directing or we have hired directors for when I'm producing for an ad agency back in the day, and we'd hire different directors. So I've been on other directors' shoots, but more recently, it's really been my own shoots and my friend Andre, who does shoots, and I go and I'm sometimes his creative. I'll write the jingle, and then he has me on the shoot to help him with creatively what it should be. So I've only been on our style shoots, But now recently, this new thing that has unfolded, thanks to my social media presence, has positioned me on shoots now where other directors are shooting. And it is a mind-blowing thing to observe. And I do want to talk about the difference between that and directing a shoot. So we have to dive into that because it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting to see what you saw.
Yeah. It's awful.
It is awful because the lack of control, like I guess I'm used to being at the, I won't say at the top of it because there's a lot of people of us up there. Like we have the clients and it's not like I'm in charge of the whole thing. But as a director, I'm pretty much higher level of how this thing is going to go down.
You're driving the ship for the day. Like you're the one who, like, there are people who are higher up, but they're not the ones who are directing the shots and saying, okay, we got it. They're the ones that are going to approve the shots eventually, but you're the one that's driving things.
Okay.
Even if you're not the head of the driving. All
right. That's true. Because I'm not giving myself enough credit where credit is due on that. But yes, so I'm driving it on those shoots. And I've always been able to control what's happening, control the outcome of something. And when something is, we're not getting this shot, I will have a solution. Well, you know what? We'll do it this way. That way we'll be able to get it. So I'm a creative solver of problems. The minute something I see, this is failing, this person's not getting the line, or we're not getting exactly what we need, I will then figure out a way, how are we going to either make up for it or do something that's going to be a better replacement for it or whatever. This also plays into my new role. But I'm always thinking on my feet of how we can move things along rather than have something where this is what they want. We have no other choice. We're going to be here for hours until we get it, and we may never get it. So I like to solve it. So that's for starters. But what I'm seeing now, so let's talk about what this new role is. Can you define it for us? Because you're better at explaining when it comes to the difference in roles.
You're the social media content director for the shoot. Like you're making the content for social media.
Versus the content.
Versus the full blown TV content, I will say, or like the high res, pro res, whatever it is. You're making the like, not in quality, but the lo-fi versions that are going to go on social media, because it's like, and this is where the social media aspect comes in of like, brands don't work on social media because they're always trying to put TV quality ads on social media and no one cares.
I'm struggling with this right now with another client. So yeah.
And you're using your phone, you're making the content on your phone to go on social media so it looks more authentic, organic, engaging to a consumer on TikTok or Instagram versus like a beautiful 4K shot of someone's like hair blowing in the wind that no one on social media is really going to care about.
Okay, now, and I want to say this about it too, which is really interesting. So a lot of times I think, oh, I'm going to go on this shoot and they're going to be shooting the commercial and I'm going to shoot the social media. But in actuality, a few of these shoots that I've been on with this particular agency, they've been shooting crew social media spots. And then I shoot the other social media spots. So this is crazy because the shoot that I went to at Olay, they were shooting 9x16 social media, Instagram beauty shots for higher level. And you'll see them. So they're almost like the Instagram ads, which are more a little slick. And they're more, you could tell they're lit and they have like beautiful, high speed, slow motion lighting, droplets going in. So even though it's not a full blown commercial, it's a full blown shoot with that whole crew happening. It's got hair, makeup, boom, boom. Everything's going on. They've got like multiple cameras shooting. They've got, they're offloading the footage. They've got a sound man. They've got a boom. They've got a mic, lav, and the whole thing. And then I roll in, because this is what I'm brought in for, is to get the authentic stuff that's happening. So I'm doing a few things on these new shoots now. And this has all come from I'm going to say it, this has come from visibility on social media has brought this to me. So if there's anything that you're an expert in, showing your expertise on social media can really change the game. So I'm going to say that. But because I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm being brought in as the expert on these shoots. And I go with my phone, literally I have two phones. I go and I find little moments. I'll shoot behind the scenes stuff. If I see something cute, if I can get the talent for 5 minutes by themselves, I shoot a little like an outfit change. I'll get, do this for me. And then later on when they're changed, I have them do something else so that I can make a transition. I'm constantly filming. And it's, even though you might say, oh, way less stress, you don't have to be responsible for the whole shoot, it is equally as exhausting and draining of a shoot day. And I will attribute that to because now it's all on me and my device. And so it's my brain still going the same way it does on the higher level where I'm running a crew, but my brain is still like, so I have the shots. Did I get all the things for all the pieces? Did I shoot the stop motion section that I want to create for this? And a lot of the creative is in my hands now because they give me sort of, here's a few ideas that we have, but then they don't always give me the talent enough to execute those ideas. Mm-hmm. So I have to think of something else. So it's constant. It's almost like I'm on edge in a good way, though. I'm on creative edge to constantly be like thinking of what's the new thing that I'm going to shoot, or what am I going to do that's different, or how can I use a template maybe to make this work or something. It's crazy. It's so much fun, though. It's so cool. It's so different. And maybe you can ask me what I like and hate about both, and that would be a good question. Look at me. I'm leading the interview.
I think when you're doing the TikTok stuff, like you said, it's on your phone. So then it's like you're going home or back to wherever and you start editing. So it's like the day isn't over because you're still working on it. Whereas like when you're directing bigger shoots, the footage gets handed off and you're not really seeing it for like a couple days, weeks potentially, and you're handing it off to an editor and giving the direction. So it's less brain work.
Wow. I wouldn't even think of that. And that's a great insight. Thank you. No, I wasn't even thinking of that as part of what I might share right now. So I love that. Thanks for thinking of that. Because that is true. And some of the shoots, for example, the NFL thing, I am editing that, but still there's an editor involved. So I'm not sitting physically with that footage. Sending it to an editor. I'm like, okay. And then I'm going to give him some direction. I'm going to get it. If it's an interview, I get it transcribed. I highlight some things. Here's what I think the story is. But he's physically doing it versus me doing it physically. So yes.
And also the TikTok thing is it's you don't have like a whole team around it. It's just you. Like you're the only one responsible for getting the shots, and no one's really like catering to you the whole day based on things you've told me. You're just trying to get the shots when you can, if you can, in between their actual takes. So no one's versus the rest of the shoot. They are focused on getting these shots, and the whole team, all 30-person crew, whatever, is focused on the shots, and then it's just you.
You're better at describing this than me, and that is so exact. Yes. So that whole team is working in that direction, and sometimes and I won't say I'm like the low man on the totem pole because there's a lot of pressure on me to make sure I come out of this shoot with these TikToks and these reels or whatever. So the pressure's the same in a weird way, but I'm like flying solo, and then I can't always get the talent that they'll give me a schedule and they'll say, okay, so you have the talent for this 15 minutes. Let me tell you how many times that has worked out. Zero. So I'm like, okay, they've taken too long on that shot. That the director over there is taking too long because, well, I won't say why, but not really directing. I'll just leave it at that or whatever. Not really directing her enough to get whatever it is when it was like a specific thing. And so now I've lost the time that I could have had with that person because they took up the time and they're the priority. So then when that happens, then I have to think of what can I do instead? And so I'm constantly like thinking, oh gosh, how can I change it? Is there another shot I can get? How can I be creative and give them something else? So I try and deliver other ideas. And that is a lot of brain space and it's really a lot of adrenaline spent. That's what it is. I was thinking about it. I've run I used to do those marathon things and those little triathlon things. It literally feels like that.
Those little things.
No, but when I used to do those mini triathlons and whatnot, and then I would be so tired the next day. That's somehow the same. That's how I relate to production sometimes. And also the fact that it can be a 1-day shoot or a 5-day shoot. It's the same. I can go day after day after day, and then after a 5-day shoot, I crumble. But the same thing happens if it's just a 1-day shoot. The next day, I crumble. So it's not related to the length of the shoot.
I was listening to a podcast recently about this, and they were talking about kind of like the same thing, whereas like being on a shoot, you have this adrenaline and it's go, go, go. And then as soon as it's over and, you crash. And they were saying, they're like, I don't know how people work on like movie sets for like a full month. Right. And the person was like, well, you feel like that every single day. You don't have that crash until it's complete. So it's like, can you imagine like a 3-month shoot and then you're like having a 3-month worth crash? Like I'd be out for weeks.
I know. It's a lot. It's just a lot. But I do think that's like on the upside of a few things is what I'm learning from being on these other shoots is I've never been on hair or skincare shoots. That hasn't been the nature of my work. So I've learned a lot about working, and also a lot of celebrity talent I've worked with. It hasn't been that problematic. I don't know why. Maybe the agents have been good, but some of the celebrity talent I've worked with recently, I mean, they held up the shoot for like 4 hours one day, and I'm thinking, forget it. I'm never getting my shots now, because the director needs all the time to get those shots. They have to make up. So it really can be a little, it's very unknown, but I think what's good about it for my personality is that and I can be very creative on the fly. So it's almost feeds into one of my really good skill sets, which is, okay, I can make it work. I'll do this instead, or I'll do that instead. And I tend to be almost more creative on the spot on things when I'm under pressure. I've always been that person. I write a better essay the night before to do. I do the better thing when it's like the last minute. I'm sorry, I'm a procrastinator by nature, and it has worked really well for me. Being a procrastinator.
Right.
I know, sorry.
And it works really well for me having anxiety, because I'm always preparing for every worst outcome.
Well, you're the opposite. You prepare. I don't know. So I do think that it feeds into it. I don't know. I'm just going to say that because I think that a lot of people might think, well, I'm so organized and that's why I'm not organized. You can say it. Say it. Tell
hilarious.
Tell the people. Tell them the truth.
So unorganized. Just look at her computer background. You can't find the screensaver. That's how unorganized it is. That's how many windows are open. I open your laptop to do something and I get sweaty. I get hot. I'm like, what madness is going on here?
It's true. I
It's
finally
so
got
bad.
my emails under control. And it's really good because you know what I've done now? Go ahead.
I have been telling you to do this for years. And
but
it only took TikTok to comment on it.
the
for you
commented
to
a lot of
actually
times.
do it.
TikTok
I'm
commented
offended.
a lot. I know, I'm sorry. But I've been meaning to. I've always it's been so overwhelming. I wasn't able to figure out how to do it. And then when I finally said, oh, wait a minute, I can just sort by unread. And if I have not read it since 2016, I don't need it. That's embarrassing that I just said that out loud.
You sent Helen an email between now and from 2016 and she never responded. It is now gone forever.
It's true. I'm dying. I didn't even realize I had emails that old. And the funny thing is I have read emails from 2016, but I haven't gotten to that yet. But at least now when I look at my phone, what I do each morning now and each evening, it's like a nice little routine. I go to each email box and sort by unread, and I just delete, and it's so efficient. Oh my goodness, why wasn't I doing that all along? I need to teach a little class on that. I can solve this for you because I finally figured out how to maintain it. It feels very freeing that that's sorted out. But I am a disorganized person.
Someone discovered how to delete emails.
It's so big.
Wow. Congrats.
I know. Thank you. It was a big day.
No, it's some days I'm like, how the hell were you a producer?
I know.
Because you're so unorganized sometimes and it's confusing.
Well, people say you were such a good producer, and I'm thinking, how do they think this? Because I look at Brandy's skill set and your organizational skill set. You're not a producer, but you produce comedy shows, you produce things. Like, I consider you a producer because you have those organizational skills. I never had them. I think what I made up for, because I was thinking about this, like, how did I pull it together as a producer all those years? And I think I have a right left brain going, and I'm not going to say I'm a personality hire, but it helped me that I was very sort of likable in a situation and I could solve a problem on the spot. So when I was with creatives and something went awry, I would be like, well, and I was always like the calm one with a solution. And one time, I'm going to give Don Case credit fully, because he said to me, do you know why you're such a great producer? And I was thinking, okay, let's wait for it. He said, because you exude confidence in what you're doing in the moment, so people trust you. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that's where that was going. I really didn't. I thought he was going to tell me because I'm so organized.
Oh boy.
So I thought,
because you're so organized.
So I'm not saying that's like a personality hire, but it is a style of work where I don't like go flying off the handle when something goes wrong and like, oh my God. And we're going to have, it's like fire drill. A lot of producers are like fire drill crazy. Oh my God, everything's terrible. Woe is me. This is the worst ever. I'm not that. I'm like, okay, we're good. Let's figure it out. One time in a shoot, it was a disaster. We had one of the, what does DIT stand for? Something, the tech guy who moves the footage from the camera to the hard drives. And this is not Nick, just going to say it because we work with Nick for that now for years, thank goodness. But somebody before Nick accidentally deleted the footage on the camera card before it was transferred to the hard drive. So we lost an entire, do you even know this? We lost an entire second camera footage. And the producer had to come up to me and say, you're not going to believe this, what happened? And I was like, okay, we have camera one. We didn't lose the entire interview. So we had it only on one camera. And so I just calmly said, they can just reframe it. So we'll use it for a wide shot and then we'll just zoom in on it and they can cut to it as a close-up. And they'll cut to some shots of, I think it was toothpaste too. We'll cut to some shots of toothpaste or whatever. So I went to the clients and I told them, this is what happened. The footage didn't get transferred. I don't know that we told them it was like one person's fault. I didn't want to blame someone. So I think we said the camera card was damaged because we didn't want to have somebody, getting blamed. So we said the camera card was damaged. We lost camera two. And I calmly just explained it to them. And I calmly said to the at that time, who was the creative director, I said, you can just reframe camera one and it'll be great. And he was like, yes, Helen, we can. And that was it. And it was like, it could have been a complete nightmare for so many people that day. And I refuse because it's only a commercial. It's not somebody dying on an operating table. I've always said it. Thank God.
Okay. I'll start to wrap it up with a question of what has been your favorite shoot that you've worked on.
Oh my God. I wasn't expecting a question like that now. A favorite shoot. Okay. I'm going to say one of my favorite shoots because I have a lot of good shoots that I enjoy. But one of my favorite shoots was working with real women and actresses on a shoot, which was, two shoots were very similar. So I'm going to say they were both my favorites. And I'm going to say the two brands. One was for Conair and one was for a medication. It was called Timlos. It was for, I forget what it was for, osteoporosis medication. And it was the similar style shoot. And why they're both my favorite is because I was able to work with real women, mothers and daughters, and real, I won't call them midlife women. There was a bunch of different ages for this Conair spot. And it was getting them to be able to share, even though some of them were actresses, they were able to be themselves. And it was it was almost like this most sweet spot, especially on Conair, because I was on this big set with big colored backdrops and I was on a platform and I was in my element like I have never been before. It felt so good because I knew that I was making these people feel comfortable enough to be themselves and step outside their comfort zone, which was in some case they were actresses and in some case they'd never been in front of a camera and they had to be up on a big platform. It was my favorite shoot. It was so good, so much fun. And yeah. It just kind of solidified for me that I'm doing the right thing for my life.
Yay.
Yay.
Fun.
And now I get to do it solo with my phone, which is even more fun because it's a lot easier to get people to be real when you don't have a big camera crew. So I get the most sweet moments on my phone with some of these talent that are booked for the commercials and doing the thing. And then the director's not even getting the most authentic stuff. I'm getting it with my phone. I love it. I think that's where we got to wrap it up. This was such a good one. I hope people understand production a little better. I would love to welcome in any questions about production. I'd love to answer because knowing about it, it's hard to unknow what you know. So it's like, I don't even know what kind of questions people would have. They might be really interesting questions. So first off, leave us a review on the podcast because we appreciate you so much. And secondly, if you do have questions, drop them either on our Instagram or just hit back. However, we're reachable via the Instagram very easily, or even on the Socialize, where you can hit back with a question that you might be interested in about production that you don't know. And I would be happy to answer it because I can't think of them because I'm too in it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm also like somewhat too in it because I know it too well where I'm like, I don't know.
I know. It's hard to know what to share that people don't know. You did a really good job of explaining what the day is like. That was really helpful.
So now people can understand why it's so exhausting. Because if you're doing 5 days where it's like 12, 14-hour days where you're on your feet constantly and you're on mentally and socially, and it's like, you know, every shoot is like a weird social bubble as well. And it's like you got to like figure out your characters. Like we didn't even get to that part.
We didn't even get into that part. It's so funny.
Yeah, you got to get.
Yes.
You got to figure out the people. And there's always like, you know, the staples, you know, there's like a camera guy who's a little strange and like a lighting guy who's also a little like oddball, and you know there's always like
there's a sound guy who's always fun.
There's other producers, and there's
there's a lot of characters at play. You're right. And then it's like figuring out who the hair and makeup people are and who's in charge of wardrobe. The props people are almost like you don't even know who's props and who's crew a lot of times because you're really not sure. Sometimes I'll even walk in and I'm like, okay, let me assess the situation. And I know all the players. But so at some point we could talk about like what are people's roles on a shoot. That might be a fun one. But, you know, it's such a specific industry. I don't know how much people would be interested in that. So this was good. This was good. Nice, like high level. I do think sometimes I say, well, there's other jobs that are very physical. Like if somebody's doing landscaping for a living, they're on their feet all day. That's an exhausting job. But I don't know if that's equally as mentally exhausting as physically. I think it's just the combination of the two things that are going on at the same time. Because when you're landscaping, you could be in a rhythm, like whether it is you're planting or mowing or whatever. You can get in a rhythm, but not with a shoot. Not with a shoot. There ain't no rhythm. We're just lucky we're getting it done.
Gotta do it.
All right, Julie, thanks for the interview. You could take my place at the next shoot. You could be running the interview. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Yours truly,
Helen and Juli.
Woo. Okay, leave us a review if you like the pod. We had fun talking about this. I don't know. It's a subject I thought that might be interesting to people who, when I talk about production, I pretty much presume everybody knows about it. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Let us know, and we'll see you next week. Do you have any ideas what you want to talk about next week, Julie? Oh, gosh.
I don't know. We gotta brainstorm.
Okay, we'll figure it out. It'll be a surprise. Over and out. Bye.
Bye.